Hi, I'm Annalise Siegel, and today I will be presenting my speech on the evolution of diabetes mellitus. The purpose of my speech is not only to inform you about diabetes, but also to talk about the history and the science behind what caused us to be able to live healthy lives today. I want you to picture yourself in a room. It's about early 1900s, and it's a hospital room. Now, all around you, you see children who are sick and they are obviously starved. Next to their bed is their mother or their father crying because they know that their child doesn't have very much longer. This was a reality for children diagnosed with diabetes before the 1920s. It was essentially a death sentence. So, obviously, I'm not a doctor, but I have lived with type 1 diabetes since I was 12 years old. I have also, through living with type 1 diabetes, have been able to talk to several endocrinologists, and I myself want to be a diabetes educator. So with that said, I do have a little bit of knowledge on the history of diabetes. Now, I know a lot of you are going into nursing school, or you might have children, or maybe you've met a friend who has diabetes. I'm hoping that this speech will better inform you about what to look for diabetes, and also just be kind of interesting on a nursing standpoint. Scientists and doctors have been working for centuries to better the lives of diabetics, and although they have yet to find a cure, they have brought forth amazing technology to enable those suffering to live fuller, healthier lives. First, I'm going to give you a brief explanation of what diabetes is. Then I'm going to take you through a timeline to help you understand where it began and why we're where we are today. Diabetes. Diabetes is a Greek word for passing through. Mellitus is a Latin word meaning sweet or honey-like. I will explain this further as I get through my speech. But in a nutshell, it just means that the pancreas is unable to produce or properly use a hormone called insulin. This hormone regulates the glucose in your body by helping cells turn it into energy. So now that I have summarized it for you, let's move to where it began. The very first mention of diabetes was in ancient Egypt times, say about the 1500s BC. It was an unknown disease. They didn't know that diabetes was caused by too much sugar in the body. Therefore, they just went by the symptoms and the physical look of the patient. The patient was obviously very thin, and the patient was experiencing symptoms such as frequent urination and excessive thirst, along with the weight loss. The Egyptians tried to help with the weight loss and the frequent urination by prescribing a diet of grains, fruits, and wheats. Now, as I explained earlier, it's all about sugar. So essentially, the Egyptians were just making it worse and causing their patient to die quicker. But they didn't know, right? So let's move over to the 1000s AD. Now, at this time, they did discover that a person experiencing these symptoms had too much sugar in their body. Though they didn't have a name for it yet, they would diagnose it by, are you ready for this? Tasting the patient's urine. Yes, the doctor would actually grab a sample of the patient's urine and taste it and see if it was a little sweet or not. If it was sweet, it most likely meant the patient was a diabetic. Now, diabetes, as I mentioned earlier, comes from the Greek term passing through. Mellitus, as again I mentioned earlier, is honey or sweetness. The patient's pee was kind of sweet and they passed it through their urine. So therefore, diabetes mellitus became its name. So moving forward, we know that the first written account was in Egypt. So now we're going to jump forward to the 1800s. Now diabetes has a name, and the Germans now are starting to study on animals and stuff. So the Germans had extracted a pancreas from a dog and then realized that the dog is now developing diabetes symptoms. So now, thanks to the Germans, we know that the pancreas has something to do with diabetes. We just don't know what yet. Treatments were more information-based. Now, instead of prescribing their patients honey, wheat, and fruit, making it worse, they are now asking the patients to stick to a very strict non-sugar, low-carb diet. However, now this was causing people to die of starvation because their diets were sometimes as low as 450 calories a day. With the 1800s, it is obvious that science and diabetes were making great strides. They now know that the pancreas has something to do with it, but they are still trying to figure out why. So let's move on to the 1900s. The 1900s is when science was booming. Now that they had all this information from the 1800s, they are now studying the pancreas to figure out why does the pancreas have something to do with diabetes. They now discovered insulin in the pancreas. And now, through studying, they realize that the insulin is actually the hormone that makes the cells produce sugar into energy. So by the 1920s, two men by the names of Frederick Banting and Charles Best had created the first insulin injection and distributed it to a first child. This sent the science soaring. Now they were able to distribute insulin to all patients with diabetes, and there was hope. Now this insulin was coming from essentially a cow's pancreas. But years later, in about, I think, the 1970s, they developed something called biosynthetic insulin, and that was essentially what is insulin now. With this, they had developed injections, and above me you can see that this was the first needle of insulin. That's what it looked like. Beside it, you could see what insulin needles look like now. Then later in the 1900s, you can see beside me is the first insulin pump, and below me are today's insulin pumps. So as you can see, it was rapidly expanding in the knowledge of diabetes. So with that said, we know that diabetes is now an insulin deficiency. We know how to treat it, and we have all these gadgets. We now have blood sugar tests, so we no longer have to test our urine. We have an insulin pump. We have syringes to take our insulin. We have options, and we have hope of survival. Now diabetics are no longer dying of diabetes. So now I'm going to go into today. Today, diabetics have so many options. As I mentioned earlier, we have the insulin pumps, and we have injections. We also have little gadgets that are like injections called insulin pens, and this is all due to science. So now people like me could live normal lives. There are still complications, and it is not perfect. So with that said, We are still expanding and technology is still always changing, but at least we are able to say that we could live a full life. It is clear that without science, I would not be standing in front of you today. The evolution of diabetes is extraordinary, and I believe it will only get better with time. In closing, scientists and doctors have been working for centuries to better the lives of diabetics, and although they have yet to find a cure, they have brought forth amazing technology that enables us to live better, healthier, fuller lives. The evolution of diabetes has changed lives. We're able to live. We're able to do everything a normal person does. And in fact, most people, when they look at me, say, "You look so healthy. How could you be sick?" I am not sick. I am completely healthy due to biosynthetic insulin and insulin therapy technologies that we have today. People aren't dying anymore, and they aren't just surviving, but they're living now today. Technology is always advancing, and in fact, we have things like Bluetooth that actually help us to see our blood sugars on a regular basis. We still hope for a cure, but we are still able to live fuller and healthy lives thanks to all the scientists throughout history. Again, I'm Annalie Siegel, and thank you for listening to my speech.